There seems to be a plethora of fascinating and jaw-dropping mega skyscraper ideas all across the globe. But for some reason, Japan seems to house a bunch of them. As unbelievable as it may sound, due to Japan's track record with their earthquakes and tsunamis, the planning of some absurd skyscrapers is still at the behest of Japan's innovations. In this video, we'll be sharing with you 6 insane mega skyscraper projects in the Far East Island. Before we begin, don't forget to smash that subscribe button to join the community of curious minds. From skyscrapers that resemble the likes of Mount Fuji to another megastructure likely to be twice the height of the Burj Khalifa, Japan wastes absolutely no time at showing the world what it's got up its sleeves. Ever heard of the Japanese economic miracle? Well, it's exactly as the name says it is. Since post-World War II, Japan has seen a steady rise in the economy, and today, its capital city of Tokyo is home to more than 40 million people. That's nearly 80% of Japan's total population crammed into a single city. But why? Well, here's a brief look inside Japan's geography. West of Tokyo are vast mountainous regions, and just 100 kilometers southwest to the city is Mount Fuji. The urban city provides better living accommodations for the Japanese people as opposed to the rural and mountainous places elsewhere. But there are loads of risks. As mentioned before, given Japan's track record of natural disasters, it's almost surprising that the country still invests in humongous buildings. But this is simply the nation's technique for housing its growing economy and population both. Why not soar the skies if not elsewhere, right? So why embark on these projects despite living along the brink of the Pacific tectonic plates? Let's find out. Number 6 on this list is a project known as Sky City 1000, proposed in 1989. The proposed structure would be 1,000 meters tall, 400 meters broad at the base, and have an overall floor surface of 8 kilometers. The Takanaka Corporation's plan from 1989 included housing for between 35,000 and 36,000 full-time inhabitants, in addition to 100,000 workers. It was made up of 14 concave space plateaus layered one on top of the other. The plateaus inside would have a green space, and the building's borders would have housed apartments. The project was deemed the city of the future by the end of the 20th century, but of course, when Japan's economy began to stagnate in the early 1990s, so too did the vision for Sky City 1000. Up next, and number 5 on this list, is the Sky Mile Tower at over 1,700 meters tall. That's more than double the height of the Burj Khalifa. Kohn Pedersen Fox Associates and Leslie E. Robertson Associates created the tower's design as a component of the research and development project Next Tokyo 2045. In Tokyo Bay, on an archipelago of reclaimed land, the Sky Mile Tower would be constructed. The Sky Mile Tower will serve as the focal point of this reclamation project, which has been dubbed Next Tokyo. The structure is intended to house about 55,000 people with more than 400 floors. One of the challenges that architects faced whilst planning was the supply of water to the higher floors. It would most definitely be tough and expensive pumping water miles above. Nevertheless, the skyscraper never got in the works and remains as is, a proposed megastructure. Number 4 on this list is Airopolis 2001. Similar to Sky City 1000, the Airopolis was another proposed project of the 20th century. Obayashi Corporation is planning to build the Airopolis 2001, a 500-story high-rise structure over Tokyo Bay in Japan. The enormous building would have stood at approximately 2,000 meters tall, which is roughly 5 times higher than the previous World Trade Center in New York City. The Airopolis 2001 was one of the many proposals for enormous skyscrapers that were put forth in 1989. All of them were put forward during the early 1990s asset price bubble in Japan. According to newspaper reports, the skyscraper was intended to have 500 stories and house 140,000 live-in residents in addition to more than 300,000 workers. This megaproject would take up to 6 decades to complete, with a whopping $300 billion at bay. Up next is the Shimizu Megacity Pyramid, a gigantic self-sustaining arcology pyramid to be built over Tokyo Bay in Japan as part of Shimizu Corporation's Tri-2014 Megacity Pyramid project would include shops, parks, and other services. 1 million people would be housed in the building. 5 stacked truces, each with dimensions resembling those of the Great Pyramid of Giza, would make up the structure's 2,004 meters in height. Although the project would only serve a small portion of the greater Tokyo area's population, it would ease Tokyo's growing space shortage. Due to their weight, the planned structure is too huge to be constructed with current standard materials. The idea depends on the eventual commercialization of ultra-lightweight, extremely strong materials based on graphene and carbon nanotubes now under investigation. Construction was supposed to begin in 2030, but nothing has changed since then. Shimizu is still committed to finishing the project by the year 2110. If it were ever to be erected, it would go down in history as the biggest man-made edifice ever. Number 2. The Exceed 4000. The Exceed 4000 was a hypothetically enormous skyscraper with a proposed height of 4 kilometers, a sea base of 6 kilometers, and an 800-floor capacity. It could house between 500,000 to a million people. Over 3,000 tons of steel would be used in the construction of this skyscraper. The Taisei Corporation created it in 1995 as a future setting fusing ultra-modern and technical living with interaction with wildlife and nature for Tokyo, Japan. It is said that maglev trains would probably be used for the transit inside the Exceed. The Exceed 4000 would have to actively shield its residents from the significant internal and external air pressure gradations and weather fluctuations that its enormous elevation would create in order to continue to be habitable, unlike typical skyscrapers. The internal environmental conditions must be maintained by solar power according to its design. The Exceed 4000 would be susceptible to earthquakes and tsunamis due to its location in the Pacific Ring of Fire, the region with the most active volcanoes in the world.
God. Oh, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. You're just so pretty. Please don't.
The last and final megaproject on this list is the mind-boggling Tokyo Tower of Babel. This magnificent structure was inspired by the biblical Tower of Babel. This is one of the most ambitious proposed projects ever. The futuristic 10-kilometer-tall Tokyo Tower of Babel was first proposed for construction in Tokyo in 1992 by Toshio Ojima. It seems improbable that it will ever be constructed, and if it were to ever be constructed, Mount Everest would be surpassed in height by 1,152 meters, making it the tallest skyscraper in the world. It would cost a staggering $22 trillion US. If it were ever constructed, it would take about 100 to 150 years to complete and would have enough space for 30 million people. As the population of Tokyo increases day by day, it really is no surprise that such measures and dreams are being inspired by the nation of Japan. I guess we'll have to wait and see, right? Do you think any of these megaprojects will ever be built? Do share your inputs with us in the comment section below. For more videos like this, make sure to like and subscribe. We'll catch you soon!